presidents of organizations, leaders, ladies and gentlemen, this evening we gather here to recognize the outstanding contributions of an individual who has dedicated his life to public service and advocacy for international freedom, peace, and basic human rights. Senator Lugar has been a champion of Macedonian issues before, during, and after Macedonian independence in 1991. And through his support as the chairman and ranking member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, he has been very instrumental to our cause, and we thank you. The UMD would like to present to you the International Freedom Award, which is one of UMD's highest honors, and the recipient of this award is selected based on his impact on Macedonians throughout the world, the record of public service, and the recipient's success in advancing universally accepted principles of justice, peace, democracy, individual freedom, and economic opportunity. There's the award.
Thank you very much, sir, for your very thoughtful introduction and likewise the recognition of this historic conference, the first global conference of the United Macedonian Diaspora. And I appreciate especially your mention of the UMD in Indiana. That was most thoughtful because we have been grateful for the support of Hoosiers. They've made it possible for me to be standing in front of you this evening. And let me just say that clearly all of us who have espoused Europe whole and free have tried to work constructively. I don't like to use the word fought, but nevertheless argued, debated, all of the aspects of how we come to that point. Macedonia is a very important part of Europe. The independence of the country was important not only to each of us here tonight, but likewise the constructive growth of the country has set a model in terms of both political and economic maturity in a difficult neighborhood, and one in which that kind of progress could not necessarily have been predicted even 2 decades ago. Let me just say likewise that I have had the privilege of visiting Macedonia some time ago as well as in more recent times, each time with curiosity and likewise with growing admiration for what is occurring here. Equally important, the ties with the United States, which have already been mentioned by the ambassador. The strategic relationship is important to the United States as well as to the diaspora represented here this evening. It is more than a good partnership. It is a group of people who come together in this country and in Macedonia who have common ideals with regard to human rights, the regard that we all have for economic advancement of all people, a tolerance for racial diversity, and likewise an excitement about young people and their possibilities in this world. And I'm just simply thrilled to be here this evening for an unexpected honor. When I heard that this was the first of these global assemblies, I was very pleased, but I'm even more pleased that I would receive this award on the occasion of the first one. And I'm grateful to each one of you who may have had something to do in the selection. Let me finally say, without engendering any disputes or difficulties this evening, that from time to time we do have entertain the Foreign Relations Committee, stateswomen from Macedonia. We also entertain similar persons from Greece. And on both occasions, we raised the possibilities of Macedonia as a member of NATO. This is something that I would not want to let the night go by without mentioning NATO, because it is important not only symbolically, but actually. And we've had a good number of discussions about the future of NATO. There are many, for that matter, who sometimes discuss pessimistically in this country the future of the European Union. For a variety of reasons, it's very difficult for countries to give up every vestige of sovereignty, and they're not asked to do that, but some feel always that some combination, whether it be currency or some common foreign policy and what have you, somehow denies persons within their own boundaries of some privileges they may have exercised before as diverse and single countries. Let me just say that I believe that the United States' ties with NATO are very important, as well as Canada. It's a transatlantic alliance. And I mention this because I've been asked to speak on occasion at NATO conferences, usually the day before the heads of state arrive, sort of a semi-final round of talks. And not long ago at the Riga summit of NATO, I was asked to speak, and distinguished foreign ministers of most of the countries were there. And I brought up an issue that has become more prominent, even more behind the scenes. I said Article 5 of NATO, which is the article which says that each of us will come to the rescue of the other in the event that we are attacked. There's a violation of our sovereignty. Very important a part of NATO. One reason why many countries, especially those that are closer to Russia, but likewise maybe closer to somebody else for that matter, have been concerned. And I said, now what if, in this particular complex world in which we live, as opposed to a foreign power coming across your boundary lines with aircraft, tanks, and troops and so forth, sort of a classic invasion, as we have seen in Europe too often in the past, what if that was not the nature of the problem, but rather somebody just turned off the gas tap, denied your country heat during the winter, as elderly people either froze to death or had some deep privation as industries come to a halt? Just as devastating in this time and age as if armies had come across the boundary. Are we prepared for that kind of dilemma? And if so, who does what under those circumstances? Well, after such a provocative speech, foreign ministers took me aside, usually privately, and they said, well, you know, you make a lot of sense. As a matter of fact, we have thought about that, but we talk about it privately. We don't talk about it publicly. We are in an age in which there still is the potential for military attack, and I don't deny that, but likewise economic situations that can be equally devastating, and particularly in Europe now, where even despite the attempts of some of us, such a thing as the Nabucco pipeline has not yet been started. Other lines that might come out of the Azeris or through Turkey or through other places that might be helpful have just not happened until fairly recently. And many nations met in Prague and said, we really do have a problem and we better get on with it. I mention this not to dampen the enthusiasm of this first global conference, but to say that the importance of NATO and the importance of the international organization that offers the defense of countries, even if sometimes that defense is not as well developed, perhaps, in the economic and the energy sense as it will be in due course, is critically important. And I think each of you sensed that, and this is why you come together in a global conference. So I'm deeply honored to be invited to be with you this evening at this joyous reception. Deeply grateful for the honor that you have accorded me. I will display it proudly in my Senate office and will be delighted to tell everybody about Macedonia. Thank you very much.